अगर फकर इतना बुरा लग रहा है तो बाबर ग्रैंड भी ऐसे ही है।
नहीं बाबर यार, बाबर आपके 150 भी मारा है उसने। बाबर इतना इस
मान
तरीके से
रहे हैं
आउट नहीं हो रहा है, एक ही तरीके से स्लिप में आउट नहीं होता जा रहा
ना,
विदाउट एनी
70,000।
फुटवर्क।
हम बोल्ड
बाबर
हो
इज अ
रहा है, स्लिप
क्लासिक
स्लिप
प्लेयर,
में नहीं
इसका
आउट हुआ
तो
तो
एक
बोल्ड हुआ है।
फुटवर्क
वो
पे भी मसला
हार्दिक
नजर
पांड्या
आया।
से, और वो जो बांग्लादेशी स्पिनर से 20 साल के 10 रन।
अच्छा चलें चलें, इट्स दिस आई डोंट थिंक इन द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ टाइम वी नीड टू रिकंसाइल दिस, बट क्लियरली हमारे नाजरीन कैन मेक अप देयर माइंड, देयर क्लियरली टू स्कूल्स ऑफ थॉट, सो
I
लेट्स
think
सी
he's
व्हाट
going.
हैपेंस।
He's
I have,
he. Let me finish.
yes.
He's not going anywhere. He's going with the squad. वहां पे 4 गेम मिलेंगे, उसमें इनको टीम को आइडिया हो जाएगा वार्म अप्स में, और जो पहले 1-2 मिनट से खराब गेम है कि कैन ही कंटिन्यू नॉट, ये लॉट ऑफ
अच्छा, और
थिंग्स।
अगर उसके अंदर ना चला तो फिर आप क्या,
फिर
फिर
यू
आप?
हैव अब्दुल्ला एज अ बैकअप इन द स्क्वाड
ओके,
ऑलरेडी।
चलें
Yeah.
ठीक है, ठीक है,
Look,
चलें, आपका व्यू मिल गया। आसिफ आप ऐड इन करें।
yes, I have a lot to say here. Look, let me start with the obvious. Fakhar is woefully out of form. He is playing far below par. Like you said, he looks like he's mentally out of sorts as well. He's been failing despite multiple opportunities. The logical step is to drop him because that's what happens when you're not playing well. What have you done first lately? Drop him, right? I think it's not that simple. And I'm going to give you a few examples. If you look at Warner in Australia, look at Bairstow in England, big hitter. If he takes off, the sky is the limit. The score they can reach can be you bat a team out of the match, right? If he fails, you have enough batting behind to where you can still get a good total. And just last week, you had Bairstow and Root both fail. England still scored 350 plus. Now, Fakhar, I feel like has that same role. And it's sort of like you're playing with house money, right? If they succeed, great. If they fail, you're still okay. The problem with this approach, and I'm going to admit it, I will admit it 100%, you're giving a long leash and applying a different standard to a player than all the other players. That becomes hypocritical. That becomes unfair. 100%, I agree with that. And yet I'm still saying there's a reason to keep him in. Let me explain a little more. He was talking about Babar. Let me talk about Babar's scores in the last three ICC tournaments: Asia Cup 2022, T20 World Cup 2022, Asia Cup 2023. 10, 9, 14, 0, 35, 0, 4, 4, 6, 25, 53, 32, 151 against Nepal, 17, 10, and 29. Now, the question is this. You look at those numbers. Do we drop Babar? Of course not, right? So if I say don't drop Fakhar, the question that was asked of me is, do you say that Fakhar is as good as Babar? No. But do I think that Fakhar's success is equally vital to Pakistan's chances of winning the World Cup? I think the answer to that is possibly yes. I'm going to go back to the 92 World Cup. Again, not because I'm sentimental, because that was played on the same format. Bring up the example of Inzamam ul Haq, who was woefully out of form. We played 10 matches. He failed in every match except for the South Africa one where there was some rain. He scored 48, failed completely. And in the semifinals and finals, his captain played him, and we would not have won that tournament without him. Now, the counterpoint to that, of course, is that Salim Malik had the same issue. He was a key cog in our batting lineup. We still played him, and he failed. And, whatever happened, happened. But the bottom line is, and the other thing that I want to counter is people say, well, Fakhar has failed so many times. Are we waiting for just one innings? No, he's a streaky batsman. When he fails multiple times, we know because we've seen it before. When he succeeds, I'm looking for multiple scores, multiple totals that will propel us to victory. A lot of people criticize his technique. 100%. He has no footwork outside the off stump. It's a lot of hand-eye coordination. I think that's punching down on someone when he's doing poorly, because this is the same technique he had when he scored 180 not out against New Zealand. It's the same technique he had when he scored 200, same technique he had when he scored 193. No one was criticizing his technique at that point, or people were very few. And, again, talk about how many batsmen in the history of one-day cricket have 180 plus scores. It's Fakhar, it's Guptill, it's Rohit Sharma. No Virat Kohli, no Viv Richards, no AB de Villiers. That's the pedigree of this guy. You talk about bad technique. Who else has bad technique? Shahid Afridi, who has more man of the matches than anyone else in the history of Pakistan. Who else has bad technique? Stephen Smith for Australia. We all know that he bats very strangely, but he succeeds. And so here's my thing. Why am I comfortable with keeping Fakhar in? I'm going to give you one quick example, and I'm almost done here. The Asia Cup match against Sri Lanka. We always talk about our big three. Imam wasn't there. Babar failed. Fakhar failed. Did the team fail? Did we were all out for 100? No. We actually were able to bat out over the course of 42 overs at 6 runs and over. We are at a point where our batting lineup is mature enough to be able to handle it. So the thing is that I think that we have the luxury of being able to, the way I put it in a nutshell, the Pakistan team can afford to have Fakhar fail. Pakistan's opponents cannot afford to have Fakhar succeed.